Hi all, my name is Arik Jamani, your partner in becoming a successful CISSP. So, welcome to the part 2 of our CISSP Think Like a Manager series. But before we dive into today's topic, in our last session, we talked about like a managerial mindset, where putting people first, aligning the security with business goals, and thinking strategically rather than technically. So if you have missed that one, please check and watch part one of this video series. It will really help you connect the dots. In this session, we'll discuss how a manager understands, handles, and prioritizes risk. So our goal today is to explain risk handling from a management perspective, focusing on risk terminology, treatment options, and priority of controls. So these are all critical concepts of CISSP domain 1. So I hope you guys are already familiar with the concepts of like annual loss expectancy, risk, vulnerability, threat, risk likelihood, risk mitigations. I hope you already have familiarity with these concepts. Okay, so we can move on to uh, discussing how to think like a manager. So let's start what risk really mean. So risk is likelihood that a threat will exploit a vulnerability and cause impact to the organization. You guys understand this basic definition, okay? If you are like preparing for your CISSP exams, you guys are familiar with this. So as a manager, our job is not just to identify these risks. We have to evaluate them and reduce them to an acceptable level through proper controls. Like in the example, if we imagine we are swimming with the sharks, so what is the threat there? Sharks. These are the sharks are the threat. Okay. And what is the vulnerability? The vulnerability is having no protective cage. And what is the risk associated? Risk of being attacked by sharks. So the control in this scenario, in this case, we use is the cage. So what happens if we are swimming with the sharks inside a cage? It will help us. So it doesn't remove the sharks. The threats will remain there, but it reduces the risk to a level that you can live with it. Okay, so this is the key mindset of a CISSP candidate, that you can't eliminate risks, but you have to manage them intelligently to avoid your organization's exposure. Okay, you have to manage intelligently. Now, once we have identified risks, okay, the next step is always that how you respond. So as a manager, you always evaluate costs, benefits, and business impact before selecting any risk treatment strategy, right? Always evaluate cost, benefit, and business impact. Always. So there are four main options for risk treatment. Either you could avoid the risk, like stop the risky activity altogether. This is the most secure way, but it may also block business operations. Like your organization have decided to open up a project to explore new market in a particular geographical area. So after risk analysis, it was observed that there are multiple risks associated. So if they want to avoid those risks, what happens? They close the project and they are not going forward. So this is the most secure way, no risk, but business is blocked. You can't move forward. So avoiding the risk is like not doing that particular activity which contains risks. So this is the most secure way, but this is a business blocker too. Now the second one is like transfer. You can transfer or share risk with a third party, like buying a cyber insurance or outsourcing. So this is the second strategy. Other one and the most common is mitigate. Apply controls to reduce likelihood or impact. And this is the most common strategy, because in cybersecurity, infosec, and you guys will notice that you are there to manage risk intelligently. You apply controls, manage risk. So this is the most common strategy. Now the fourth one is like accept. Like, there is a risk, you formally acknowledge the residual risk when it falls within certain tolerance. So there are two like things. Either you accept risks as it is, or you mitigate, apply controls, and then there is some certain amount of residual risk, and that is according to your tolerance or accept of organization, and you guys say, okay, we can continue with that. We'll continue with that, and we can accept that risk part. So this is the most common practice too. But except after mitigation, this is the most common practice that is best. Now, if you have a legacy server, okay, so you might avoid hosting an exposed legacy server. That could be the avoidance. But this is if what if the system has some critical application and you don't have like any backup plans, the availability issue. So if you can avoid, no worries with that, continue. Or you can transfer the breach cost through a cyber insurance policy. This is the transfer part. Or you can mitigate and patch the systems. This is the mitigation part. And once you have done mitigation, you can like accept the small risk of natural disasters. Like, natural disasters can destruct floods, earthquakes. They can like hamper your data center, your servers. They can damage your servers, data centers, and all that. But they are not usual. So you can accept that natural as a natural disaster. So this is the balance like every CISSP manager must achieve: managing risk intelligently, not eliminating it. Okay. Sometimes some risks you can't like you can eliminate. There might be situations they can be treated, and the likelihood impact is gone. But most of the times, the like after mitigation, the likelihood and impact, they are minimized. The residual risk remains. So you have to manage them intelligently. Now let's talk about the control priorities. Once you have chosen to mitigate the risk, then the most important question is what type of control is best for this. Please don't get confused. We have administrative, technical, logic, these types of controls, and then we have controls based on their implementation, like preventive, detective, corrective, deterrent. So please don't confuse with them. We are generally talking about not about the administrative or technical controls in these control types. We are talking about their implementation, that what type of controls we should prioritize. Okay, so please don't get confused with it. So managers should prioritize controls that are proactive, foundational, and sustainable. So like in CISSP, although we can't classify controls as we have mentioned in this slide, but for the purpose of thinking like manager, we are going with these four types. Like preventive ones. Preventive ones are the ones they stop incidents before they occur, like a firewall or access control mechanism and all that. Detectives are they identify incidents after they happen, like IDS or log analysis. Corrective ones, they help recover after an incident, antivirus, quarantine, or system restores. Deterrent ones, they discourage malicious actions, like you have installed CCTV footages and people are thinking, okay, I'm being recorded, or warning plans you have already installed so people can see, and they are discouraged from any malicious actions. So the best managerial choice whenever possible is preventive control. Why? Because the preventive control stops the threat before damage occurs. That's the proactive risk management. So you have to go for the proactive risk management rather than passive ones or corrective ones. Incident. Sometimes there is a situation you have to install corrective or controls. No worries with that. But when you have option, you always go for the preventive risk management. Okay, always go for preventive. Okay, now let's apply what we have learned so far. So this is a question like a risk assessment has been done by your company, and you find that The annual loss expectancy for a critical database is 500,000. Okay. If you implement an encryption solution, the annual loss expectancy would be reduced to 100,000. But the cost of that encryption solution is 75,000 annually. Okay. So what is the best decision here? Either we should go for A, reject the safeguard as it is too high for the residual risk. I don't think it would be a wise decision. So let's see what's in option B. Implement the safeguard as it provides a positive rate return on investment, positive ROI. Okay, let's see. The annual loss expectancy is 500,000. If you implement an encryption solution of 75,000, then your annual loss expectancy reduced to 100,000. So the concept is very simple, basic one. Your annual loss expectancy is reduced by 400,000, okay, by implementing a solution of 75,000. So still you get a benefit of 325,000, right? So this is a positive return on investment. Yes, this is a good option. We can go for it, but let's see the other options. Transfer the remaining residual risk of 100,000 to a cyber insurance. Now, this option looks very good, but the problem with option C is they are considering that we have already mitigated because our ALE is 500,000, not 100,000. If we implement encryption solution, then our ALE becomes 100,000. Okay, so we can go for it, no worries with that, but only after if we apply option B, then the remaining 100,000 we can transfer to cyber insurance, right? So C is not an option here. D, accept the total risk of 500,000 and avoid the implementation cost. Okay, now I think this won't be a wise decision because we have a database there with the annual loss expectancy of 500,000 and a critical database. If you read the question, this is a critical database. How we could leave it as it is after all we know there is a mitigation plan for it and that has a positive return on investment, right? So the best option is go for the option B. So that is how CISSP expects you to think. Justify security investments based on quantified business impact, not just technology. The option C, good, we can go for it, but only after implementing option B. B or C, if in a real world scenario, option B and C together, they were good. But obviously, first thing, the best option is B. Afterwards, you can go for C once you have implemented B. So to summarize, like a CISO manager identifies risks, selects an appropriate treatment, and prioritizes preventive controls then that align with the business goals. So always remember, guys, your role as a security leader is not to block business. You have to protect it intelligently. That's for today. Thanks for watching part two of the Think Like a Manager series. And please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and also connect me on the LinkedIn so we can continue building our managerial mindset. Think like a manager mindset for CSSP. Thank you guys. Bye for now. Have a good day.